Late 80s Zenith VCR. 4-head to azimuth. MTS stereo. HiFi. HQ. This is one of the JVC made Zeniths from the late 80s. This one actually has, well, this is not exact, but I actually had this model as a teenager. Some friends of the family had this when I was growing up, and then when it started to act up, they gave it to me. And I got it working well enough, used it for a while. I actually have two Zeniths, this one and the next one I'm going to show, that I both had when I was young. So this one will be fun to see if I can get working. I always thought it was super cool as a kid. I mean, that's a pretty poor VU meter, but at the time I thought it was just the coolest. Go over there to watch a movie and they had this hooked up to their big 70s hi-fi system, so when you're watching it you got the full stereo, and that was just amazing to me. It sounded so good. So let's see if it powers on. Plug you in. Oh yes, and it's got a switched outlet on the back, so you'll hear a little relay click. That is a cloudy display. And the buttons, ooh, this door is well used too. So it's got little buttons on the front for the majority of the controls. And then you open up this little door, JVC style, and you got the rest of it. TV, video, channel up and down. Buttons definitely need a cleaning. And then the program menu select, counter. Oh yeah, it's got a real-time counter, audio select. Has an index function, timer, tape memory. Guess that's for the counter, yeah. Electronic tracking, digital tracking, picture sharpness. I do have a remote, but I think this is a universal. Or this came with the TV. You know what, this looks like it came, oh, index? Did this come with a TV? Or VCR? MBR, I'm not sure what MBR was. Maybe it's just for a universal remote. Yeah, VCR, cable TV. So this should work because I think all the codes were similar. Are there batteries in this? Probably not. Yeah, let's see if this will do anything with the tape. This is dense inside. Look at that. That's like a classic linear power supply. Nice. The mechanism is just disgusting. It's got a lot of little corrosion spots on the chassis. A lot of dirt in there. Oh, look at that. Yeah, this was sitting somewhere not ideal storage conditions, wherever this was. So let's throw a tape in and see what happens. All right, we're hooked up. That's interesting. I remember this would show the channel in big letters when you would change channel, and then it would get smaller. I specifically remember this did that, and this particular one doesn't. Weird. Am I misremembering that? I swear it would show big text and then it would get small. So, well, this didn't move at all. Let's try fast forward. Coming back to life, rewind. Now, is that just because it's been sitting for a while, or does it normally start that slow? I don't know, it's been sitting for a while. Do rewind again. Okay, play. Yeah, I remember the text being really big on this. Oh, there we go.
Good body alignment. Abs are in, keeping tight, chest out, back, head in a neutral
head switching's
position.
a little
She's not way up in
nasty.
the head, she's not down.
That's working. Pause again. Yeah, I'm starting to have good luck with these. Oh, does the view meter work?
In stride. For example, if you were a beginner, you just do a short stride like that, getting used to the machine.
I also seem to remember these being green, not amber. I wonder if the one I had was slightly different. But wow. I didn't clean the heads, I didn't clean the mechanism, it just needed to kind of be worked in. Wow.
You get more stretch, then you go out a little bit wide.
I would say good on JVC, but that cheapo Apex I looked at, I don't know, whenever this video posts, I looked at it before this video. That one just worked out of the box too. So, bad advice. It's okay to store these in a garage or shed for a long time, I guess. Let's pop this open and take a further look at how disgusting they are. Oh, wait a second. That's a real-time tape counter. But did this unload the tape? Okay, so I'll hit stop. How does it do a real-time counter if it doesn't load the tape? Go fast forward. Okay, now it's not working. What? You saw that. That was working before. Okay, so it's loading the tape. Now it plays.
And everything else. This is called a push.
Hey, this looks like the problem that the one I had did, where sometimes the tape would just be garbage, and if I recall, you'd have to hit rewind and then play, and then it would work. So if I play again...
Take a side profile over again.
No, maybe it's not the same problem. Okay, but you're hearing it fully unload the tape. How do you have a real-time counter if you're fully unloading the tape? Okay, let's get the board off. I want to see what... Is this doing like a partial load? All right, let's get a video here.
She'll be gliding and she'll all of a sudden. Okay. Now that's a great shot. Nice, ladies. She's holding it, so she's putting tension in her buttocks and her thighs, and in the little grip area, midsection. Once it switches off, does the other side. She's now hitting the other cheek. So, all right. So that's butt squeeze. And we're also going to do this workout without having interactive workout. We're all say okay. Turbo glide, and what turbo glide is a very fast hyper glide. Can you do that? Keeping your knees
okay.
touched, and this is where you will compete for 60.
Yeah, so there's your partial load. So is this just a garbage pinch roller? Is it maybe not engaging all the way? Let's hit play again.
To me, in a very
so now it's playing
glide,
properly.
Which gets your heart rate up, causes you to burn fat, get in shape, and it also causes you to have a little bit stronger mental conditioning and be more positive about your work.
So before, it was so easy for me to stop this pinch roller and stop the capstan. It had like no strength at all, no torque. I was able to stop this, which in turn stopped the tape. So either this wasn't engaging all the way, or less likely there's an issue with the capstan, because this is probably a direct drive capstan. It's new enough. So I'm thinking the problem was probably with this not engaging all the way. The mechanism probably needs some lubrication. Everything else seems to be working fine. Oh, I love how these spinning video head drums look on a camera. Just mesmerizing. That was weird too. Okay, so when I put this in first, I first put it in,
We're going to start with a stretching routine. It's always important that you understand when you do any type of workout that what are the two types of exercises?
Well, this thing's just wild. It's very random whether it'll play properly or not. Let's do a rewind.
In the front of your leg.
But it seems to be that this pinch roller is not... Oh. So sometimes it doesn't take up where it needs to. But fast forward or wind or play or even eject will pull that back in. So before I go super crazy, let's find the mode switch. This is not a fun VCR to work on. Front panel, difficult to get the wires off because they all go into connectors on the front side of these circuit boards, then go off to the big harness bundle and go off to different places. So this is just kind of sitting there, being protected from that horribly jagged heatsink from scratching more of the front of it. This mechanism here I was able to get out, but you have to like set the tape to partially load to get at the screws. And it's got that, what I believe to be a fake connector. There's no way that's real. I couldn't unplug it for the life of me. I'm hoping that the connections in that are still good for me trying to figure that out. That is a stupid thing, but it's long enough that you can just sort of move the mechanism around. And my God, is this thing filthy. I feel gross just looking at it, but I can't remove the mechanism completely to just clean it away from all this because of the stupid wire here. And there's nothing really to hold on to flip it around, so 1 second. All right, looking at the back side, we have the mode switch right here. But to get at this, I have to presumably lift this circuit board up. Now this circuit board runs all the way under the capstan motor to here. And then everything's feeding off this big connector that isn't a connector. So to get this capstan off, there's 3 screws, or capstan motor, there's 3 screws holding it in place, and then a C-clip around the capstan itself. And then this is connected with a cable, so this will sort of become loose. And then to get this circuit board off, you've got some screws. That's just soldered to something. There's a screw here to this plate that runs underneath this other circuit board that's also soldered with a ribbon cable to this one, so this all has to come out. And then this is soldered to this motor. So like this is just this is stupid. And then to get at this damn switch, like to lift this bracket here, this looks like it's holding down whatever mechanism runs underneath this circuit board. So like, do I just sort of lift the corner of this circuit board up here a little bit to try and get underneath that? Let me look, because if I have to take all this apart, I'm not going to. No. Yeah, nah, that's not happening. Took these 2 screws out and I can barely lift that up. There's no free service documentation for this mechanism that I can find. This is shared with, I believe, most 1987 and 88 JVCs, including that side loader that I have. But that thing works flawlessly, so I haven't really looked into this. Googling, there's no pictures, no videos, no information, no service data that's free. So I don't know if I want to tackle this. Maybe in the future if I find that information, but I'm gonna look into a couple other possible causes of that weird loading problem, and let's see here. All right, well dang, I do think it is the mode switch. First off, it mostly doesn't load the tape back in. That could be the idler tire, just, you know, a little bit loose. It's an actual tire. Although, no matter what, when I either hit eject or rewind, it seems to have 0 issues doing that. Now, the other reason is that I can actually reach under here and I can manually move the motor, the loading motor that loads the tape. So now if I go and hit play, See, this little arm is up beside the pinch roller, and I'm having problems. But if I go and manually move this loading motor, and I continue it in its path, it gets better. And watch, I'll just pop in all of a sudden.
You can take care of what God gave you.
And we're good. And what's interesting is right at the very end, after me moving this, you can hear the motor kick in and suck that piece in there. So it gets stuck when it's going through its process. It gets stuck, electronically stuck, and doesn't continue all the way until the loading the whole way. That's mostly true. It actually goes too far because of the dirty contacts. And it does that intermittently. And that just absolutely screams mode switch. All right, we're doing this. So what I've been doing is I've been removing the circuit board. The capstan motor gets removed with the 3 larger screws. You don't need to remove the smaller screws that are also visible from the top. And you don't need to remove this C-clip. This C-clip pulls the capstan up so that the rotor and stator don't rub inside. It's got a little spring there. So you don't have to remove that. 3 screws there, a bunch of screws around here. I still haven't figured out this metal piece, if I need to take this whole cover off of this or if I can work this around. Got the desoldering station warming up because the light stick for the end of tape sensors needs to be desoldered from the looks of it. I'm also going to desolder the reel table motor so I can get this out. If this wasn't here, I could probably just lift this up and get at it. I don't know why this would go over like that. It seems annoying. But yeah, we gotta go full involved here. That's interesting. I didn't think about it, but this probably doesn't have tape remaining calculation, because right here you would have one of the reel table sensors, because you can see the reel table down there, and it's just not there. But I think there might be one on this side, so it's got one for one of them. Oh, I guess for faulting. Yeah, because this would be the take up and play mode, so this would be the thing to make sure it doesn't fault out. Huh, cost cutting. So I've desoldered this board from here, I've desoldered the motor from here, I've desoldered this motor from here, so I've almost got this board out. It's just this last metal piece here. And my concern is this just going to explode into a mess of untimed gears? Let's find out. Okay, it's out. Here's the cam gear that drives everything, and this goes all the way to the mode switch. Here's the intricacy here, and unfortunately something here was under tension and sprung back, so that might be a bitch to get the timing back. Again, no documentation. I've found this mechanism was used on almost every JVC VCR in about 87, 88. And my understanding is the VRE series, at least, possibly VRD, for Zenith. Very common mechanism. I found some service manuals for the European versions of the models that are supposed to have this, but they were just schematics. There was no mechanical documentation. So, yeah. And the thing is, to test this out, you got to solder everything back in. I'll make sure that I can get it as best as I can, but now this should just come up, right? Let's bend that back. Oh, it's that stupid cable I couldn't remove. But here we are. There is the mode switch. Focus. Come on, you stupid pixel, you can focus. I'm standing so far away. Anyway, that's the mode switch. I almost forgot to take a picture of the mode switch again. It was dirty. It wasn't super dirty. I gave it a real good scrubbing with a Q-tip and some contact cleaner, and then I put some deoxit in it for good measure. and worked it back and forth, and then I just took it back apart again to show the insides. So there you go. There's your mode switch. All it took was all of this to get to it. Alright, I'm trying to put this together in a more proper order now that I know what I didn't have to take out. So I believe these screws and this screw can come out last because this holds this lower level board. This screw goes through that bracket, which is part of this, that's going to go on next. What else? I removed the entire light stock. Like, I pulled the screw out of there, thinking maybe it unplugged before desoldering it, so you don't have to remove that screw on the top. Although it might make it easier just to feed it through afterwards versus aligning this when you're popping it in. I don't know. The less you have to do, the better, right? So now it's just a matter of making sure I've got the right timing on here. This seems pretty simple in terms of the modes that it's in. And the mode switch has what looks like an alignment piece, that gray piece there. So if you have it, let me move it up here. That might be a particular mode. I'm gonna have to go through this whole thing and figure out. There's a peg that goes into this cam gear right there. So that drives this piece going back and forth. And then these two are driven by what? They're driven together, and I think this goes into something. Maybe there. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't quite figured this whole thing out yet, but yeah. I think that wasn't bad. You can tell when it's gonna go back in properly because the way that cam gear is, the peg will just slide down and you won't have any gap between this bracket and the frame here. What I had to do, and that was that spring load I talked about when I removed it and I heard a pop, is that the last bit of movement here with this whole arm, the arm that's fixed to the frame here, it has it'll move back and forth, and the last movement this direction is spring loaded. So if you push it down, then the little peg will fit in the cam gear, and that's the fully unloaded position. It's got a bit of a spring tension to it. I think that's correct. We will find out. I have no idea what mode this marking is on the mode switch for. Maybe that's tape loaded but stop. Yeah, maybe that's it. I don't know. Anyway, let's we'll see if I completely screwed this thing up. There. If you didn't know any better, you'd say I wasn't even in there. But I was, and I got this extra screw. I don't know what it was for. Damn it. Due to a technical error, I seem to have lost a bunch of footage. So let me describe for you what you're about to miss. I power VCR on after putting it back together. Loud banshee-like squealing occurs and no controls work at all until I unplug it and then plug it back in again, and more squealing occurs. The belt is not happy. This was it. When you're putting the mode switch back in, solder it last. First align the groove of the screw, because the problem I was having is it kept trying to push further this way, which made the belt squeal because it couldn't move any further. And this mode switch was ever so slightly this direction, so it could never fully reach the end of its travel. And that was because when I soldered it in, I wasn't really thinking, and I just sort of had it just a little bit that way. So line the switch up, mount it. That's why it's got its own mounting screw right here. Then solder it in. Oops. Just ignore my bad soldering there. By the third or fourth time I was putting this back on, I just didn't give a shit. Now, if I were to rate the complexity of this, a few videos ago I did one on some Sony CD players, and I showed a bunch of just audio equipment that I had picked up. A JVC SE80 graphic equalizer, but more importantly a Pioneer CT9R top-of-the-line 1981 cassette deck that I later learned is infamous for being a pain in the butt to work on, and the mechanism kind of sucks. So what did I do? I ripped the whole thing apart to fix the mechanism, because like it's a pretty cool deck, and I got it working great. I might show it in a video. I don't know. I don't normally do videos on that stuff, but I mean it's freaking awesome. Anyway, that thing I would say was easier to work on than this. So I think that's saying something about how stupid this mechanism was to take apart and service. It can be done. Don't be afraid. It can totally be done. It just kind of sucks to do. I actually really enjoyed working on the Pioneer. By comparison, I was very angry working on this the whole time. So yeah, just to give you an idea, if you're looking to do this, hopefully this video can help. But if you just need a VCR, maybe look at buying a different one. Although this one is a really good performer. So, I mean, if that's the only thing wrong with it, it might be worth it because just, yeah, great picture. Freaking finally. Yeah, this tape's been eaten by me already. Look at that. It's loading the tape back in. Do fast forward. Rewind. Play. This only goes in the right amount. Plays the tape. And if I hit stop, pull the tape back in. Okay, so the first time I did the mode switch cleaning, I didn't get the alignment just right. The alignment under here was fine, but the mode switch itself, I soldered in and then before putting it back in. So I soldered it to the board before installing it. So I had to take the whole thing apart again to sort that out, and then got the timing screwed up because I had played with the gear because I thought I had the timing wrong. So got that back into play. It's all good. I even figured out where that missing screw went. Here. So yes, it is possible to clean the mode switch on this. I just really don't recommend it unless you absolutely just want this thing to work, because that was a pain in the butt. But I am going to upload this so that if someone needs to clean the mode switch on this model, or there's a whole bunch of JVCs and Zeniths that use this mechanism, so I'll list them in the description, you know, for SEO, if anyone needs to work on it. And I'll try and show all the little things that I ran into. So to take the thing apart, there are two little plastic clips here that hold the chassis in after you've removed the screws that hold the chassis into place. So there's one here, which is fun because you got to take this board out, which is 2 screws, 2 connectors, and then there's actually a little connector that goes onto this board here. It's just vertically lifted up to get at that screw. And then there's 2 others. If I go and hit eject here, that are there and there. So to get at those, you need to take this metal cover off, which I've taken off screen, which is 4 screws here, and I think an additional 2 screws that hold it to the plastic chassis. So that's just to get to the point where you can take this mechanism out. Then you have this connector, these wires that run up to a connector on this board, this connector and this connector, assuming you've already taken this out, which I did. A connector that goes and plugs into, yeah, right there, you can see the green goes into white, that does the front loading mechanism. I think that's about it. Then you can lift this up. But I have not found a way to disconnect this ribbon cable, which handles all the underside stuff. So as far as I'm aware, it's just really long, so you can take this mechanism out without disconnecting it. It's stupid. Oh, and these screws appear to be GIS. So if you're like me and your GIS stuff is not magnetized, be prepared to get really annoyed. I don't know if for sure they're GIS, but I have these bits that seem to do really well on the GIS, which is Japanese International Standard, I think, or Industrial Standard, I don't know. Basically, instead of being like Phillips and going all the way deep, they bottom out. So they have a little flat spot on the end. You're not going to be able to see that on this because my... Oh yeah, you will. See, it bottoms out there, it's flat. Versus Phillips, yeah, they look about the same. I don't know. Maybe you just need a really good Phillips driver. This one, my magnetized screwdriver, doesn't seem to do well with these. It rides out. Whereas this one, which I tend to use on JIS, has a nice, it doesn't drive out like Phillips do. but it's not magnetized, so you lose screws everywhere. So what I've been doing is I've been loosening them with the JIS and then taking them out the rest of the way with the magnetized Phillips. There, it's mostly back together. While I was in there, I cleaned, well, just all the stuff inside. I think I showed earlier. This is actually after cleaning. It was just disgusting in there, full of dust, dirt, hair, I don't know, little weird crusties that I don't even want to know what those were. So gave this a good cleaning. The transport was actually pretty clean. Heads looked fine, didn't see any dirt coming off of them. The pinch roller looks quite new and really nice. So yeah, this is definitely worth kind of cleaning up. I'm gonna have to spend a lot of effort though, because it's old and gross, and yeah, that's not gonna fly for me. I don't like that level of dirt. I think I'm gonna take this whole front apart. This is probably the most fogged up window I've ever seen. There, I think that's better. Cleaned up nicely. The reflections kind of make it look all weird, but I can assure you it is clean inside and out now. Much better than before. Actually cleaned up real nice. It was just dirty. Didn't smell like cigarette smoke, but it had kind of a yellow brownish tinge coming off on the rags, so not really sure what that was. Lots of hair, lots of gross, but it's working. Nice clear display. The VU. Let's mute this. There we go. Tuner's all up and running. And what's nice about this one, I didn't get the remote with it, but I do have some Zenith remotes. I've got this one that I tried first. I think MBR is a TV, maybe? I don't know. This one acted weird, like you'd have to press and wait, and then it would send the signal. I also have this one, which is an Allegro multi-brand Command 300. So this is like their universal remote, but multi-brand, eh? Interesting. Well, it handles this one just fine, so that's good. I've got this one, which came with an actual Zenith VCR, video coming soon. And then I got all these guys, which are the old school Zenith remotes. I've done some videos that have involved these, the early, like 1984, 1985 Zenith VCRs that were built by JVC all use these. And the problem is these used a proprietary and expensive battery, the J-type battery, which I think was commonly used in like Polaroid cameras or something. So this little guy is 6 volts. So it's the equivalent of 4 AA's or AAA's, which I guess these ran on 6 volts instead of the later ones, which run on 3. Which one's TTL is 3.3 or 5 volts? There's 2 different types of logic chips, 5 volt and 3 volt. I bet just ran on 5, that runs on 3. Anyway, these are hard to find, and they're expensive and stupid. So these remotes are just for show. And they're pretty cool, but can't really do anything with them. So take all these away. No, this is the one I want to keep. And we have a remote. Now this doesn't have the speed change button to change the record speed. But let's see here. Also menu doesn't work. For a multi-brand remote, it doesn't even handle its own brand. Fine, whatever. What I was trying to show is that you can do everything without the remote on this model, which I really like. So it has the program menu button. Let's zoom in here. Program menu, select, set. So if I hit program menu, it'll bring me to set the clock. Now select will change what I'm highlighting, and then set goes up and down. So let's just, today is Saturday at 8:08 p.m. Sure, whatever. And I'm just sitting here in the basement. Now if I do it again, it'll bring me up to programs. I can press that again. I press it again, program, and it brings me to the limited amount of settings it has. So now in this case, select goes through and selects the, oh yeah, same thing. Select chooses the item, set changes it, so you can turn on simulcast here, or just line in. And line in or AV will also, it can be selected through channel surfing. So you can just channel up and down, and between the highest and lowest channel, the AV input's there, which is Very nice. Every machine should have done that. Band, antenna or KTV. I use antenna in here. AFC. I think that's, I'm not really sure what that is. Maybe that IRC type offset that some channels had. But record speed's in here. So being a JVC, it's only got 2 record speeds, but you can set it in there. And then on-screen display and second audio, because it's a MTS stereo model. So that menu to get out of there. And boom, AV, go to channel 2. It works. And if I go down to a channel that's stereo, the tuner is stereo. It picks it up. That's about all I'm going to play of that. Some of the channels that I have running are stereo. I think 50 something is 50 maybe? Yeah, I don't remember. Anyway, one thing I've noticed lacking is adding and removing channels, which I assume must have been done through the original remote because there's nothing in the menu for that and I see no buttons here. When I had this model back as a teenager, I had the remote with it. So, but I don't remember. It's been years. Anyway, let's test some tapes out. See how it performs. I mean, it's going to perform great. I really do like this era of JVC, even though I just hate servicing this particular mechanism. I have a memory of them being, you know, having great picture quality, being real solid machines when they're working. Just noticed that the this door kind of, maybe it's supposed to have an extra spring in there that's missing. I have to look at that. Anyway, let's not use this tape because I kind of destroyed it. Rewind is not very fast. This is an EP recorded tape, so yeah, definitely pretty slow. And one complaint I have with these flip down doors that JVC did, thankfully this isn't a membrane switch like a lot of them were, but it's still, you know, half the controls are inside and outside, and if you have it down to adjust the channel, you can't get to the transport controls. So it's a mild inconvenience. So let's try playing an EP tape.
Now I remember, the first time I got hit in the head by the door at Pop Tapes, you said something about it having been stolen.
So one thing I want to say first off, that sounds amazing. This is linear audio and EP, and the high frequency response is fantastic. Let me see if I can turn this up and get you close to the speaker here.
Using the rewind function on my new time device over and over again. If he uses it too much, time will go into a permanent loop. We'll be trapped forever.
Yeah, like that. That sounds great. On the right tapes, these perform so good. Yeah, anyway, EP, perfect pause. When you hit pause again, it'll take you into slow motion. So you have 1/3 of a second, 1/24 of a second, 1/18 of a second. Now this is animation, so it's less than 30 frames per second, so you'll get a lot of duplicates, but you can kind of see it move there. And this is 1/6. And then back to pause. And then you can hit play.
But how?
And it's got a 2 times. And what's nice is it looks like the slow tracking is automatic on this. So if the regular tracking is set properly, slow tracking just works, right? Like each frame of this is perfect. In fact, I haven't adjusted the tracking yet. Oh.
I think I've just verified the time belt is still unstable.
Oh, I like that. So pressing and holding this, it goes really fast. It's not like some of the tracking controls where you're constantly hitting the button. But so far, I mean, does this have auto tracking, or have all the tapes I've tried just been aligned with this? Zenith was not very good at advertising a lot of the features on it. Maybe it's just all the tapes were aligned perfectly. Let's get an SP movie and something with HiFi to try out. All right, got a EP recorded tape that should have HiFi on it. So let's hit play and unmute.
Been dying when he wrote it.
Jesus. Okay. Should it say HiFi on there, I think? Honestly, I can't tell because this is old content, so the audio wouldn't have been great from the source, and the linear audio just sounds so good. How do you tell? So I hit flashback and it yelled at me that it didn't have a recordable tape in it, so I don't think that's going to show me the on-screen display. I might try and record. I don't know. I mean, it's...
Just don't know. I haven't any answers to your questions.
Well, let's do the tracking. It should kick out.
All I remember was I went to my quarters and fell asleep in a chair. At least that's what I was when I woke up a few minutes ago and found all this.
Yep. Hi-Fi. Perfect. Crisp. No dropouts. It got the tracking right the first time. I think this was recorded on a Sony. So, like, yeah, it's just fantastic. Let's try an SP tape. Nice. Picture's a little dark. I don't know if that's the movie.
I knew anything to been with you. Did he do the okie dokie?
Let's see. Actually, the picture looks real dark. That could just be this movie, this tape, but
Of course. I made you an espresso.
perfect. Perfect. Just, yeah, it's just is. It's just perfect. Okay, next tape. Let's mute first. So don't get blasted with loud music. I guess I could just change the channel. All right, Jurassic Park. Detects the record tab, plays automatically, blah, blah, blah.
Debug 2 million lines of code for what I bid for this job?
Do not get drawn into a...
Perfect. Well, that pause wasn't perfect. Wait a minute. Oh, you know what? It's because I was messing with the tracking. So the tracking wasn't perfect. So now I can go and adjust the tracking because I think it uses the regular tracking for slow motion. So if I clean it up here, there we go. Now if I hit play,
Hardly any debate at all.
I don't blame people.
it's
for
a little off
mistakes.
there. I don't want to hit play and start messing with things because if I play too much of this, that's it, game over, man. But yeah, it's just fine. It's just fine. There are two belts in this. There's a belt on the side here for the loading motor, the front loading motor. And there's the other belt that I probably showed down there to replace for the actual loading, like the tape to the head loading. Both of them seemed good. Oh, and there is a rubber idler in the middle. All of these seem fine. They felt fine. They were probably replaced at some point before the end of this machine's life. And you can tell because this was serviced by the video refit shop at an undisclosed time. And yeah, I think that's all to really show about this machine. It's working great. I'm keeping it because I have nostalgia for this particular model. And yeah, the only thing to do now is, keep an eye out at thrift stores for the actual proper remote for this, because you got to have a complete set with these things. All right, recorded some stuff that, probably can't really show too much of that, but hey, I wanted to test the audio. So recorded off an MTS stereo broadcast channel. Now, I noticed it flashed mark on the on-screen display because it was marking an index when I first hit record. So I think what I can do is turn tape memory on. Yeah, so it's on there. And then if I hit rewind, it should stop at that marking. Nope. Okay. I'm not really sure how to scan through the index. I think you might need the remote for that. This has mark and erase, so you can mark and erase indexes. Fine, but I don't really know how to go and find them. Oh well. I thought that would work. course it looks perfect on SP. And that's recording off of broadcast. That's an RF input. That's not even just the AV input. So now I should have an EP recording. Yeah, of course, it's just perfect. Like, that picture looks fantastic. Very happy. I've really grown to love these late 80s JVCs, which all seem to be branded Zenith when I find them. So that shows you how uncommon actual JVC VCRs were where I am. And it was all Zenith and RCA. What manufacturer of VCR do you have? Well, what was RCA using? What was Zenith using? What was Magnavox using? Did we have Magnavox? We had Sylvania. Anyway, now I'm rambling. Thank you for watching.
Butt squeeze. Having inner Ross LK. Glide.